Welcome to the Unapologetic with Janine McKinnon podcast, your go-to place for approachable conversations around sacred sexuality and conscious relationships. I'm your host, Janine McKinnon, certified trauma-informed sex, love, and relationship coach who's on a mission to support 1 million women and couples to experience deeper connection and more expansive pleasure inside and outside the bedroom. This is the space to go deep, to dive below surface level relationships and mess sex and explore the sacredness that sexuality and conscious relationships have to offer. Because deep connection, spiritual sexuality, full body orgasms, and transmuted sexual energy are available to everyone. And I'm here to serve the collective, to provide the knowledge, wisdom, and tools to access them. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful we're able to connect in this way, and I can't wait to dig into the contents of this episode with you. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hello and welcome to a Tuesday transmission episode inside the Unapologetic with Janine McKinnon podcast. I don't know about you, but I am just feeling into the fresh energy that this week brings. Last week was a bit of a heavy week for our family, dealing with some sadness and grief that have come up around something. And now that we're coming out the other end, I'm really leaning into that freshness that each week brings. I've always been someone who loves Mondays. I know that sounds super weird for many people, but I just feel like it's another chance at a fresh start. So whether it is a new week, a new moon, a new follicular phase, they're all opportunities for us to just really take that moment to let go of things that aren't working, let go of things that we are holding on, and just really embrace what we are wanting to move towards. Really embrace what feels aligned for us and continue to use these opportunities with these new weeks and new moons to continue to evolve and to transform. And one of those things that I would like to welcome you to try on for this new week is taking responsibility for your turn on. Because ultimately, your turn on is your responsibility. And that's something that I feel like a lot of women, most that I speak with and see, take a much more passive role when it comes to their turn on and getting themselves amped up. Whether that is just wanting to follow the lead of your partner, and there is a different kind of dance you can do. Just because you are taking responsibility for your turn on doesn't mean that you are moving out of a more feminine, receiver, submissive kind of role, if that is what you like to play within. It just means that you are taking responsibility of getting yourself there, of being open to building up your turn on and knowing what it is that helps with that building, and that you're able to communicate that. Because when you're able to take that more active role and really have this inner knowing and knowledge from within, rather than just relying on your partner and hoping they get it right, it's a much more pleasurable and connected experience for not only you, but for your partner as well. Like, honestly, think about how unfair it is that most of you are just relying on your partner to do the right thing, to turn you on, to get you off, whatever it might be, and completely putting the ball in their court without a whole lot of guidance from you. Like, honestly, that's not that fair if you really think about it. And when you're able to take the responsibility of your turn on, you are able to just have that more supportive, more connected experience. You're able to accelerate things, to really deepen the experience, and to be able to really expand together through those different waves and spectrums of pleasure.
Do you desire to feel confident in your body and empowered in your sexuality? The Honeypot Meditation is a potent 12-minute visualization to support you in connecting with your sexuality and rewiring your subconscious with the confident, radiant energy you'd love to embody. Download completely free through the link in the show notes and get ready to immerse yourself in a visceral experience as you connect with your sensual, radiant essence.
And so, what are different ways that you can take responsibility of your turn on? What I mean by that is one, becoming sexually literate in terms of your own sensuality and sexuality, knowing what your brakes and accelerators are. And so, brakes and accelerators is probably a conversation for a whole other podcast episode, but it's something that Emily Nagoski coins in her book, Come As You Are. And that is knowing your accelerators, what really helps turn you on and light up that pathway for sexual experiences, as well as knowing your brakes. What is something that is putting on the brakes and really getting in the way of those experiences? So when you're able to have that knowledge, it really sets you and your partner up for success. So for example, perhaps touching you in a ticklish spot can be a break. I know that certainly can be for me and has been quite the challenge in our relationship, where on the flip side, touching in just the right places, perhaps working on those outer edges and going inwards, like I touched on in last week's episode of 7 things that are getting in your way of expansive orgasms. If you haven't listened to that one, I definitely recommend checking that out. It's just the last episode. But those outer edges, perhaps there's a few of those spots that are really that accelerator for you. So having a great understanding for this really helps you and your partner. Another common break can be messiness, whether it's wanting to have the kitchen done before you move on to other things, or perhaps just in your room and your space and needing to be neat and tidy or the right kind of temperature. And if it's not, if the sock's screaming at you or you're too cold, that ends up being a break. So part of taking responsibility for your turn-ons is knowing these things for yourself and being able to communicate that. Now, outside of that, more specific accelerators and brakes, it's really understanding what you like. Because again, how can you expect your partner to be able to know what you like and turn you on and give you these expansive and orgasmic experiences if you don't even know what you like, right? So that's why it is your responsibility to learn this for yourself. So not only can you help yourself get there, you can help give that guidance to your partner so they really know what to do to help support you in that. And then, of course, communication is huge. Being able to communicate all of these things we touched on with these brakes and accelerators and what turns you on and what you enjoy, but also being able to communicate your desires, communicate your boundaries. And this can be a tricky place for a lot of couples because these conversations around sexuality are very vulnerable. They can be very triggering and tricky to navigate. And so learning how to do this in a way that's really supportive for you, which I am happy to hop on a call and really accelerate all of this for you within a session. So you are set up with the skills and the knowledge to hit the ground running and really get this information for yourself so you're able to communicate and know how to do that confidently. But one thing I will say when it comes to communication around a lot of this stuff is to try and take the conversation outside the bedroom. Because when you're in the moment and something doesn't quite go right and then you try to bring it up, it's again, we're a lot more triggered and reactive, and the conversation generally isn't as productive as we are hoping for it to be. So if you can actually bring these conversations outside the bedroom, you're setting yourself up for success to have that more productive conversation, because it's not quite so vulnerable. It can be while you're going out for a walk or doing something else, and it just takes the pressure off a little bit more, so you can move through it in a way that really helps set you up for having those great experiences together and exploring together. I will also add that another block I see a lot of women struggling with is when they are trying to communicate their desires or their boundaries or different things like that. It is done in a more masculine, very straightforward, assertive way, which can end up backfiring and can lead to, again, shut down in their partner because of the vulnerability in the situation and the way that it's communicated. They can often take on that they're doing something wrong. They are just can't get it right. They want to be able to please their partners so badly, and then when hit with this assertiveness, they can hit their own negative thought spiral, just like we can in our own ways as well. So one thing I really like suggesting to clients is more of that feminine invitation. So rather than stop doing what's not working, invite them into something that does work. And being able to bring in that fun flirtatiousness in it often leads to, again, that deeper connection where you're able to deepen the experience together instead of having these different trigger points and these different spirals and these different things that actually disconnect you. So that can be really fun to play with, not only when it comes to your sexual experiences, but outside the bedroom as well. Taking a moment to think about, like, how can I best communicate this in a way that feels fun and flirty and is supportive for my partner, rather than just being direct and to the point and not really caring how it lands. And this is definitely a skill and a process. It's something I play with over and over again and catch myself not necessarily doing things in the most fun, flirtatious way, and I'm reminded to kind of bring it back to that. So that is just something I wanted to share with you here, because I find it's been coming up in conversation with my clients over and over again, and it can really help shift that perspective in, instead of just saying, stop, I don't like that, or like, that's a ticklish spot or whatever it might be, bringing in that invitation. Touch me here. I really like it if you do that this way. And I think you can tell just in listening to this, it's a very different dynamic in being able to lean into that feminine invitation side of things. So, what is another way that you can really put all of this into action and be confident in taking responsibility for your turn on? Because this isn't just going to come out of nowhere. Like, yes, there are tools like Beducated, which is a fantastic online sex education platform that has been very helpful for me as well as others I've recommended it to. Do you want to spice things up in the bedroom but aren't sure where to start? Beducated is your all-in-one sex education platform, providing you the sex education you wish you had, with tasteful and informative courses on everything from intimate connection, blowjobs, yoni massage, kink, BDSM, tantra, and so much more. Beducated has everything you need to spice things up and explore your curiosities as a couple. Follow the link in the show notes or go to JanineMcKinnon.com/Beducated and use code 25 for 25% off. Again, that's JanineMcKinnon.com/Beducated and use code UM25 for 25% off Bedukated's online sex education platform. And so that stuff is great for the skills specific side of things. And there is so much more than just learning the skills. If learning the skills gave everyone amazing sex, there would be tons of couples having much better experiences than there actually are, because it is so much more than those skills. There is the way we are able to connect with our body and with our presence and create that safety within ourselves and within our partnered experiences that is required to be able to feel confident and feel safe with the skills and with the different tricks and things like that. So I really recommend a weekly date night with yourself. I have a full podcast episode on it, but that is what really set the trajectory for me to actually come into this line of work. It started with me reclaiming my body and myself for me after having 2 kids back to back and really rediscovering who this new version of me is. And so through a weekly date night with yourself, you are able to be devoted to connecting with yourself, to nourishing yourself. And this can be your kind of playground and your lab for learning what are your brakes and accelerators, what are your turn-ons, what do you like, what don't you like, and learning how to be able to communicate that. Because when you're able to take the time to learn these different things on your own, again, it's a lot easier to bring that into your partnered experiences than when you're totally fresh and not really knowing and experimenting with the other person. It just brings this whole other dynamic where, again, you're more easily triggered. So if you can have kind of your lab where you play around with these things, build your confidence for yourself, and then you take that into your partnered situation, to your partnered experiences. Again, you're really setting yourself up for success so you can deepen your connection and really expand your pleasure together. And the Unapologetic Practices collection is a fantastic tool to support you with that. It's full of meditations, breath work, and pleasure practices, all geared towards supporting you in connecting with your body and your empowered sexuality. You can use code PODCAST for 15% off and use that as a tool within your weekly date night with yourself. Now, you're also going to want to stay tuned and be on the email list. If you're not already, that is where I am first announcing live events and different programs and offering a deal to those on the email list. I have a live pleasure practice coming up in a couple of weeks, which is a great opportunity to just kind of test the waters, see what sacred sexuality is really like, if it's a good fit for you, how you feel playing around within this world of things, and also being able to feel the energy of a group container, all practicing and connecting together. And again, this is online, cameras off, being able to do your own thing in a way that feels good for you, while I am able to guide you through it with opportunities to reflect and celebrate and all different things. So you're going to want to get on the email list. I have the free honeypot meditation, which is a great pathway to do that. I will leave the link in the session notes for you, which is also a great kind of taster for the unapologetic practices and just different ways that you can connect with yourself and with your sensuality, because it is a skill outside of like those more technical, how do you do certain positions and things like that. It's a skill to really be able to connect with your body, to develop a deep sense of presence within your practice, with yourself, and with those partnered experiences. And so I invite you to play around with that. And thanks for listening. This is a fun topic this week. I would love to hear your thoughts. Where are you? Have you been more passive and just kind of putting things off for your partner and just being along for the ride? Or are you someone who's really taken your turn on as your responsibility? Or perhaps this has really shifted your perspective and you're considering different ways that you can take this responsibility on in a way that works for you. I would love to chat. Shoot me a message on Instagram at janine.mckinnon or send me an email, info@janinemckinnon.com. I'd love to hear what you think, and I will be back for another episode next week. Thank you for joining us inside the Unapologetic with Janine McKinnon podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you feel called, I would so appreciate it if you left us a review to help us reach more women and couples so they can experience deeper connection and more expansive pleasure inside and outside the bedroom too. Until next time, embrace your desire and experience your magic.